Okay. Good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me? Okay?
Yes.
All right, great. So, welcome to the December GANYC Association of New York City membership meeting. My name is Michael Morgenthau. I'm the president of GANYC, and it's great to see you all out here in Queens and far, far away from Rockefeller Center. So in any event, we are going to get started. So before we do anything else, we always have a couple of rules of the road to go over. So number one, please silence your cell phones. Please silence your cell phones. There are a couple of different colored badges. If you have a red badge, you are a guest, and we are really happy to have you here. But our kind of operational rules say that you cannot address the meeting in any way or vote if we take a vote, which I don't think we're taking a vote on tonight. We're happy to talk to you after the meeting, myself, members of the executive board, or anybody else in this room, but that's kind of the deal. We have blue and green badges as well. The emeritus badges are blue, although technically no one is an emeritus member yet. It starts January 1st.
Oh, that's right.
It starts January 1st. So
That's right.
if you're down, you will, you can speak at the meeting, but you cannot vote. And if you have a green badge, you're a full GANYC member, and you can do just about anything you want at the meeting, okay? Now, as you all know by now, I have a special rule that I like to follow. If you are standing up to address the meeting, please, first of all, raise your hand and let me call on you. Then please stand up and say your first and last name, no matter how many times you've had to do this. This way, newcomers can learn who everybody is, okay? Any questions about that? Okay. Now, we have one addition to the agenda tonight. It's going to go right after our guest speaker and right before the committee reports. Cherie Davis, our board member at large, is going to do a brief report about her time representing GANYC at the National Tour Association conference, which took place in November up in Ottawa. So, so we just forgot, there was an oversight not to put that on the agenda. Do we have any other new business or anything else we'd like to add to the agenda, my friends? Okay, so with that said, why don't we get started? How many of you came for the pre-tour? Great, well I hope you enjoyed. Let me go grab Ishmael because he wants to say a few words to us, the director of sales here, and then we'll move on with the meeting. Yeah, do you mind? Okay, great. While we're waiting for him, I just want to issue one. First of all, I want to wish everybody initially happy holidays, and hope it's a lucrative season. And well, with that, here is Ishmael, who is
Director of Sales.
Kolthoff, the Director of Sales for the A-Loft, who's gracious enough to host us tonight. Ishmael, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much. It's nice to see you all. You guys are important to us and to New York. Some of you have seen the hotel. I've had the opportunity to show you around. Those who haven't, before you leave, I suggest you go up to the 18th floor, make a right, step out into our rooftop terrace. There's a magnificent view of Manhattan. We rent the rooftop terrace for parties, weddings, all kinds of things. We also rent this, and when we do, we typically charge. But in this case, but we do also give complimentary audiovisual. Whoa. So, this TV, typically we will set up 3 TVs, right? And speakers and whatever else, remote control for the presentation. Today you got some complimentary coffee, some water, some snacks. We have 176 rooms in the hotel. We only have 14 doubles, so they come at a little bit of a premium. Rates range from January, from $159, to when UNGA, right? $600, right? We have 2 penthouses in the hotel. They're both situated on the 18th floor. We have WXYZ bar and lounge. Karaoke Wednesdays. Today's Wednesday. Yeah. Wow. 7 o'clock. When you're done, go in there, take a look, sing a song, have a drink, check us out. And I'm going to leave some of my cards here before it's over or back there. If I can ever help any of you personally, professionally, or for a family member, friend, send me an email. I'll be glad to give you a good rate. So while you're here, enjoy your time, have a good meeting, and hopefully you'll come back and recommend us.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's dive dive into the meeting. So we'll start with the presidential report. So first of all, I was saying happy holidays, everybody. Happy Hanukkah, happy Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, happy whatever you celebrate, Festivus, you name it. Hope for everybody, all of our members, all of our partners, that it's a happy, healthy, safe, peaceful, and lucrative holiday season for everybody. And once the craziness of the holidays are over, I hope you will all join us at our post-holiday celebration. Tickets are already available on Wild Apricot. It's going to be Monday, June 12th, Planet Hollywood from
January 12th. It's very quick.
Well, June is after the holidays, right? Yes, sorry, thank you. January 12th, Monday, January 12th, from 6 to 9 at Planet Hollywood. Cost for members and industry partners is $40. Cost for non-members is $60, which includes food and soft drinks, but hard alcohol you have to pay for yourself. Okay? But we hope you see you there. Registration's already open on Wild Apricot, I believe. Some emails have already gone out about that already. Now, we are in the thick of membership renewal season. How many of you have renewed your membership already? Somebody's not sure? Yeah, that's great. Thank you all who have renewed. I want to thank the membership committee and Treasurer Sarah Lyons for really being the engine behind our renewal season. If you brought a check tonight in order to renew your membership, that's Sarah. And she's very, very happy to take your money. Okay? So, as of this morning, 180 of our members had renewed, which is pretty good for this time of year, but that's only about half of our membership. That's not inconsistent with previous trends. And then of course we have 3 emeritus members at this point who have signed up for the new program as well, which is great. But we need more, right? The membership dues is the engine of everything that GANYC does. So, you have until the January membership meeting, which is January, not June, I just figured that out. January, not June, January 7th. So you have until January 7th to renew your membership. After that, your membership will be deactivated, okay? So, if you have not already renewed your membership, please do so. If you have friends in the association who have not yet renewed their membership, please encourage them to do so. The dues, if you're not familiar, this year will be $180 for the year, and for the emeritus members, it's $108. If you are thinking of applying for emeritus status, please read the bylaws to make sure you qualify for emeritus status, okay? More email reminders will go out to everybody, but after the December board meeting, which is in about 10 days, we're going to look at a list and start making phone calls. So if you don't want to be hassled by the board or the membership committee, you got 10 days before we're going to start hassling you. So please, 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 please encourage your friends to renew, and we appreciate everybody's support. Thank you for helping to make GANYC what it is. Okay? Now, I'm happy to report that 2 members have volunteered to become co-chairs of the Multilingual Guides Committee, and I think they're both sitting here towards the back of the room. So, Samir Matar and Dmitry Kurmanov, if you guys want to stand up. So thank you both for stepping up. This is the 3rd version of a chair for this committee. So as they say, this calendar year. 3rd time's the charm, right? So we're very confident, and as I mentioned to you both via email, very willing to support you in whatever way you need to be supported. Happy to have you guys on board, and probably after the holidays will be a good time to start jumping into things, because it's just going to be insane between now and then. But thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, next, there has been a rise again in email phishing emails and scam emails coming that look like official GANYC emails, okay? They are not. Anything that looks like that is a scam. There are only 2 official GANYC emails that you will get, okay? One will have an @GANYC.org domain at the end of it, whether it's president, membership, finance, different committees, et cetera. Or if it's something generated from our membership management system, Wild Apricot, the email will literally come from GANYC@wildapricot.org. Nothing else is an official GANYC email. We do not sell our information to anybody. It's being scraped off the internet. And after the holidays, we're going to sit down, hopefully, with the IT committee and see if there is a solution to try to better safeguard our data. But basically, ignore them, delete them, report it to the IT committee so they can have an idea of who might be doing, or where these are starting to come from. But just use your senses. We do not sell your data to anybody. It will be, ignore those. Yes, Rob?
Roche Melodian, could you also just sort of I'll just do it, remind everybody that it may come and look like it's coming from GANYC.org. It could be a mask, depending on your email program. Good idea to click on the email address that it's coming from. That should reveal the actual underlying
You
address.
have to
It
look at the
should not
email
be.
address.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Rob. That's a great point. Yes, Anina, but then we have to keep going.
I just want to say thank you for the quick response.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then when I messaged you through Facebook, I was like, this seems unlike.
Yeah, thank you
but,
for-
but I appreciate the fast response, because I was like, oh, I don't know why, it
Yeah.
seems so urgent.
When in doubt, don't click on it. That's basically the advice, okay? So, but you are welcome and
Yeah, I
glad
appreciate
it
it.
worked out, okay? Now, next up, just kind of to close the loop on something, proposed bylaws that we put in front of the membership last month to settle ties in any GANYC Executive Board elections has been officially adopted by the board. The language is uploaded to our bylaws. If anybody is not familiar with the change we made, you can go to the bylaws and check it out. Now, next couple of things we're going to talk about have to do with other conventions. So, there are two major tour guide conventions here in the United States every year, TripCon and IATDG. They are both industry partners and or strategic affiliates of the Guides Association. I highly encourage everybody in this room to consider attending one or the other in the coming year. This November, I was at the IATDG convention near Baltimore. It's called Trip Connect. It was a fun week filled with fan tours, education, networking, and a job fair, particularly for those of you who might be interested in getting involved in over-the-road tours. That's kind of more their sweet spot as opposed to local tours, but I did connect with some tour operators who might be looking for step-on guides, so you can get work in that regard. There are at least 6 GANYC members that I know in attendance. There might have been more.
Can you please say what IATG?
IATDG is the International Association of Tour Directors and Guides, IATDG, part of the word salad that we love in this industry so much, okay? The week before that, TripCon, which is run by Trip School, Mitch Bach's organization, took place in Charlotte, South Carolina.
Charleston.
I'm not sure if any GANYC members... What did I say?
Charlotte.
That's one of those.
Over 2. Charleston, South Carolina. Was anybody at TripCon? Okay, great.
There were other people here.
I'm sure there were others there. I just did not.
Yeah, there were about 5 or 6.
5 or 6 there as well? Okay, great.
That's great.
But there was some GANYC news from there. Is
Yes.
Suzanne here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the TripCon, Suzanne Reisman won Best Original Tour for her Rats and Garbage Tour.
I had to say I went on the tour. I lied.
But
I knew about
Guys,
it.
I have to keep going. Enough comments and questions. There'll be time for questions at the end, but we have a packed agenda and we started a little late because of AB. So now, the 2026 conference dates have been announced and registration is open for both. So IATDG Tour Connect will be November 8th to the 12th in Las Vegas, okay? And TripCon will be November 15th to the 19th in Louisville, Kentucky. And we will share links for those of you who might be interested in attending either or both. Obviously, you don't have to make decisions now, but if you are gung-ho and you know you want to go, like Michael Dillinger, who's already signed up for IATDG for next year, registration is open. Speaking of conventions, we're just a couple of months away from the World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations 2026 convention in Fukuoka, Japan. That is WFTGA for short. And I'm happy to report that the executive board has approved 6 members to receive a $750 stipend each to attend the convention and come back and report to us after the fact. And so I just want to share the list with you. Kristen Singleton Ferrari, Emmanuel Hayter, Jesus Alvarez, Bob Gelber, Michael Dillinger, Emma Guest Gonzalez, okay? As part of the condition for them accepting this money, they are obligated to give us a written and a verbal report when they return from Japan. If they don't do that, they don't get the money. The money comes afterwards as a reimbursement, okay? Many years ago, that became an issue with us giving out the money in advance, became a mess, so for many years, we've decided to do it as a reimbursement,
Very
but
good, very good.
we're really happy for all of these folks, these 6 members, to be representing GANYC at the convention in Japan. I will be representing GANYC, or at least that's the plan right now, as a delegate at the General Assembly, but I'm going to be doing it virtually. They have a virtual option for delegates. Unfortunately, circumstances beyond my control just meant I was not able to attend this convention this year. I've been to 3 of the previous WFTGA events, and they're all terrific, but I know that our 6 members on the ground will certainly do a great job of representing us there. Okay, a couple of things as we start to wrap up, my friends. As you know, at the end of the meeting tonight, the new executive board for the next 2 years is going to be announced. It's the last item on the agenda. We do that for specifically. But I wanted to take this opportunity to have us all say a huge thank you to the outgoing 2024-2025 GANYC Executive Board. You are all great representatives for the GANYC membership and terrific stewards of the association. And I thank each and every one of you for your time, your dedication, and your professionalism. Not every board member could be here tonight for various reasons. Some are sick, some have other obligations, but I want to thank all of them by name. If I could, I know you all are already applauded already, but I'm going to ask you to just hold your applause till I get through the whole list, and if I could have the board members stand up so everybody can see you and recognize you, that would be great. So, Vice Presidents Beth Goff and Catherine Hill, neither of whom are here tonight. Secretaries Lee Hollingby and Mitch Paluzek. Treasurer Sarah Lyons, and members at large Cherie Davis, Gary Dennis, Jojo Landon, and Michaela Fagan, who served for quite a long time. It was really a great group to work with. We were surprisingly without a lot of rancor, which was great, and I feel like we accomplished quite a bit. I'm super happy that both Sarah and Catherine are definitely continuing on the board because they're running in uncontested elections. Obviously, Gary and Cherie are also running for re-election, and we thank you guys for stepping up and being willing to have the next 2 years on the board. And as you all know, I'm running for re-election as well. The votes are in, but nobody knows other than John and Robert right up here. So if I'm re-elected, I will continue to work hard for all of the members for the next 2 years. But if I am not re-elected, I just wanted to say that it's truly been an honor to be the president of GANYC for the past 2 years. This is such an incredible organization, and it's remarkable what we achieve as a small, all-volunteer association. And that's not just because of me or because of the board, that's because of every single member, particularly those who volunteer on different committees. I tried the best to represent the GANYC membership as best I could, and always tried to have your best interests in mind. Getting involved in GANYC has been by far the best decision of this part of my professional life. GANYC has given me so much professionally and personally, and I hope that in a small way I've been able to repay this with the volunteer work I've done. I encourage each and every one of you to become more involved in the association in whatever capacity you can. I know everybody is super busy, so whatever you can do, no matter how small, how big, I encourage you all to please think about volunteering your time. Together, we'll continue to uplift the guiding industry, setting a standard for local tour guide associations around the world. So, in closing, I just want to wish good luck to all of the candidates tonight who are in contested elections, and I look forward to seeing what the next board is able to do for GANYC in the next 2 years, whether I'm on it or not. So, so I just want to say thank you all. It's really been an honor to represent you for the last 2 years.
Very good.
So that is the end of my president's report. Did anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, so I think we can move right along. So we are honored to have one of our own to be our guest speaker tonight, Stephanie Azzarone. But to introduce her, we're going to call up Lisa Fuccio to introduce her. Did I mispronounce your name?
That's fine.
Okay. Over 3.
I don't want to mess up.
Yeah, don't mess up.
I know. Hi everyone, long time no see. All right, as you were just told, tonight's guest speaker is GANYC member Stephanie Azzarone. She first spoke to the group 2 years ago after the launch of her first book, the award-winning Heaven on the Hudson, Mansions, Monuments, and Marvels of Riverside Park, which I have read and highly recommend. Her second book, Fabulous Fountains of New York, features gorgeous illustrations by photographer Robert Rodriguez. Where are you?
Who's my husband and is here somewhere today.
Yes, exactly. He's sitting in the back. Stephanie's husband. This book was launched last fall. Well, I can say last fall because it's almost winter. Okay. And received attention in the media, including the New York Times, the New York Post, that's a lot of yin and yang there, and the NY1, and all of it with Allison Stewart. I recognize that name. Prior to her new life as an author and tour guide, she was a journalist and later ran her own public relations agency. Stephanie very generously is offering copies of her books this evening at a discounted price.
Especially for GANYC.
Especially for GANYC. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our fellow member, Stephanie Azzarone.
I so enjoyed writing that first book, which came out 3 years ago, Heaven on Hudson, which was all about Riverside Park and Riverside Drive, that I really wanted to do another one. And I wanted to stay within the theme of New York City history and architecture. And I like fountains. So Fabulous Fountains of New York is all about the history and design of New York's most wondrous waterworks, how they came to be, how they've changed over time, what makes them special, and of course the people behind them. So New York City fountains are historic landmarks, cultural touchstones, and dynamic works of art. In fact, the sculptors behind many of them have their work in New York City museums, including the Metropolitan and Whitney. The fountains were designed to honor men and women of accomplishment, to memorialize events, and at one point to keep New Yorkers from drinking too much alcohol. Their stories, in many ways, tell the history of New York. They also serve, to me, as oases, little islands to escape in the middle of the city for a few moments of quiet contemplation. There are more than 50 fountains in New York City parks alone, and many more along grand boulevards, in tiny plazas, and even in the shadows of bridges. They range in style from 19th century Victorian fantasies to holes in the ground. Their waters rush like rivers or are barely a drip and a dribble. Far too many of them are dry. I refer to those as the forgotten and forlorn. So the book has 72 fountains in it across 5 boroughs. Many are famous, many more are little known. So today we're going to talk about several of my favorite in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. But a quick look, before we look at the individual fountains, at the history of water and the lack thereof in New York, and how that eventually led to all the wonderful fountains we have today. So early on, of course, New York, when New York was founded 400 years ago, which we all know very well, there was plenty of water for drinking, firefighting, washing, anything that you needed. And this came from springs and streams and ponds, and especially this one. This is Collect Pond, downtown, which was the main source of water. And this was huge. It was 48 acres across, it was 60 feet deep, and it was said to have been where the very first steamship was tested. So it was huge. Things changed as the city's population increased. 60% between 1820 and 1830 alone. More people meant more demand, meant less water available. And that contributed to the losses of the Great Fire of 1835, also downtown, in which something like 700 buildings, over 17 blocks and 13 acres burned to the ground. Just wasn't enough water. At the same time, finding potable water became a huge challenge. And that was because with this increase in population, people were, well, there were no sanitation laws really in effect. People were dumping their garbage, their waste into the street. There were no sewers. It was terrible. And at the same time, industry grew up around the collect pond. So we're talking slaughterhouses and tanneries and the like. And of course, they dumped all their stuff into the pond. As a result of all this, the water was severely polluted. It not only tasted really, really bad, but it could literally kill you. There were 3 cholera epidemics in the first half of the 1800s alone. In 1832 alone, 3,500 people died from drinking bad water. Now, all changed in 1842 when the city brought clean water to New York for the first time since way back, from 41 miles away from the Croton Aqueduct. As a result of this, there was a great deal of rejoicing and the creation of many fountains. And as you can see here, this is the water being brought over, and it went straight to the receiving reservoir in Central Park and then down to the distributing reservoir right here, as you all know as well, in Bryant Park and where the main branch of the library is today. But the very first fountain was opened in City Hall Park in 1842. The aqueduct opened in 4th of July, and this opened in October. And as you can see, I hope, in the picture, there was a great rejoicing. There were lots of crowds, there was a parade, 100-gun salute, there were fireworks, there was a specially written Croton Ode sung by the Sacred Music Society. It was quite the big deal. In fact, it was a citywide holiday, which is why the fountain, though technically known as the Croton Fountain, became known as the Holiday Fountain. And this remained in place for about 22 years, until 1867, when it was torn down for the creation of Federal Post Office in City Hall Park. I should mention here as well that this fountain had metal cups attached to it. So people were not only celebrating the arrival of water, but they had direct access to it. So, if this looks at all familiar, this is actually the fountain that is there now, but it wasn't, we're still talking City Hall Park. It wasn't there from day one. It was there, then it left, then it came back. We discovered in researching this that if Manhattanites did not like a fountain, then they banished it to one of the outer boroughs. And this happened repeatedly, especially with the City Hall Park fountain. So this particular fountain was designed by Jacob Remould, known as the Remould Fountain, and it was here until, when was that? Until 1871. No, that's not right. I'll find that in a minute. It was opened in 1871, and it remained until 1920, at which point people tired of the Victorian style, which this was, they wanted something new, so this got shipped off to Crotona Park in the Bronx. Next, because people did want something new, came this fountain. It was known as heroic allegorical style, and this one was called Civic Virtue Triumphant over Unrighteousness. And there was a great deal of excitement. This is the picture of the unveiling. Lots of excitement in the audience in anticipation of this modern style, until it was actually unveiled. And there was a gasp in the audience, particularly among the women who had just achieved suffrage 2 years ago. Because they looked at this, and actually in that previous picture, if you look carefully, you can see some of the women turning their back and walking away. So the women in the audience looked at this and they said, why is the man representing virtue and the women representing vice? The women here, the figures here standing on had the faces of women, the bodies of women, and the tails of serpents. Vice. And furthermore, why is the male stepping on the women's necks? Now, he wasn't really, because I got a close-up look at this. They're kind of wrapped around his ankles, but still, same general idea. So nobody liked this, or at least the adults didn't like it. The children, however, loved it. They were jumping into it on a daily basis during the weather. But among the adults who did not like it was Mirella LaGuardia, who became mayor during this time and apparently didn't much like having to look at the character's bare posterior from his city hall office. And so using renovation of City Hall Park as an excuse and the creation of the Queensborough Hall as an excuse, LaGuardia shipped this off to Queens. Yes. It was basically ignored for a number of years. It just sat there, it deteriorated until the 1980s when some of the women politicians said, no, they went back to the sexist idea appropriately. And then in 2011, a gentleman whose name you may remember, Congressman Anthony Weiner, tried to sell this on Craigslist. Unsuccessfully. So what happened also in the 2000s is that this fountain was basically decapitated. Old vase, which was designed by Warren and Wetmore of Grand Central, so it's quite gorgeous, was left in Queens. This is now known as the Women of Queens Plaza. And the top part, the sculpture, was moved to Brooklyn to Greenwood Cemetery, where, as of today, none of the permanent residents has complained about it. So, next, still in City Hall Park, Delacorte Fountain. George T. Delacorte, you all know him, Delacorte Clock, Delacorte Theater, Alice in Wonderland, all in Central Park. So this was here for a while, until they got tired of this one, which was then, anybody want to guess? Also shipped off to the Bronx. This is Walter Gladwin Park, where it stands today not as a functioning fountain, but as a very large planter. Finally, 1990s, the mayor's administration, a fellow by the name of Rudolph Giuliani, decided to revamp, to restore City Hall Park, to bring it back to its Gilded Age glory. And when that happened, the fountain, the mold fountain from 1871, was itself restored, brought back to City Hall, where it now stands in all its absolute splendor. This is where I go whenever I'm on jury duty. I love not only the fountain, but the surroundings. You know these buildings are absolutely gorgeous. Here's another one, the Woolworth Building, and every time I'm there, I really expect women in long dresses and men in derbies to come. So it is one of my favorite in the city. All right, our next stop, we're going to go uptown, midtown rather, all the way east to the Ed Koch 59th Street Bridge, to the Evangeline Blanchfield Fountain. Now, Evangeline Blanchfield was a philanthropist. She was a founder of the Municipal Art Society. She was a great believer in public art. And she felt for the farmers and the horses that had to bring produce all the way from Queens to what was called the Queensborough Bridge Market, which was located right here. The market was originally on the outside, where you can see this entryway to what is now a private event space called Guastavino's. But it was moved inside, and this is actually where that fountain originally appeared. If you look very carefully, you can see an outline below those golden ribbons, and that's where the fountain was, which was underneath this fantastic Guastavino arch, right? Gorgeous. Okay, so the fountain was designed. The actual artist here was Blanchfield's husband. His name was Edwin. He was an established artist. And Evangeline herself posed for this. That's the donor in this very regal pose. And the reason I like this fountain so much is, there are two reasons actually. One, it was designed for both man and beast, because as I said, she felt for the horses as well as for the farmers. But also, it is the only one that I came across with mosaics. I mean, take a good look at this. You have those sparkling blue mosaics as sky. You have these fabulous burgundy and gold mosaics. in a kind of undulating blanket across her lap. But the best part to me is this Horn of Plenty. And here's a closer look at it. It represents the produce that was sold in the market at the time. It's golds and yellows and blues and purples, and what you can see there are melons and grapes and berries. It is absolutely stunning. Evangeline died during the Spanish flu epidemic, and the Municipal Art Society donated this fountain to her in her honor, not to her, excuse me, in her honor in 1919. Okay. Oh, and this is the outset below, which poured water into the fountain which fed the horses. And that's the dedication. All right, now, cannot talk about fountains in Manhattan without talking about the big one. Bethesda Fountain, of course, best known fountain in all of Manhattan, and probably the best known of fountains in the country, really. So this, this, I usually look at fountains as places to go and be quiet and contemplate. Absolutely not here. This is where you're going to be part of the Manning crowd, okay? So this was initially, Bethesda Terrace was initially just called the Water Terrace. And it was renamed upon the creation of the statue that appears above Bethesda Fountain, known as the Angel of the Waters. This was designed by Emma Stubbins. Story there, she was the daughter of a banking family in the city. She moved to Rome, where she was part of an artist colony, and it's believed that the fountains of Rome really inspired her. This is the fountain itself. I should put it this way. This is her name, the fountain's name, the statue's name, is the Angel of the Waters. And that is because it was modeled after, or I should say, derived from, a biblical story in which an angel came down from heaven and agitated the waters of Bethesda near Jerusalem. And the story was that anyone who immersed themselves in that water afterwards would be cured of what ailed them. And that was very symbolic here because Bethesda Fountain also was designed as a result of the availability of clean water from the Trojan Reservoir, which made people healthy. So that's the background on that. Now, there's actually, this is historically significant for 3 reasons. One, it was the only statue in Central Park that was actually commissioned. Everything else there was donated. Secondly, it was, as I mentioned before, designed by a woman. And thirdly, this was that was uncommon to have women sculptors. And thirdly, this was, she was the first woman to receive a public art commission in New York City and one of the first in the country. So, that said, Emma Stubbins at one point fell in love with Charlotte Cushman. That's Emma on the right and Charlotte on the left. Charlotte Cushman was an extremely successful actress at the time. Best known for her ability to play both male and female parts successfully. And it is believed that Emma modeled the Angel of the Water on Charlotte. Now, the statue was controversial from the very beginning for a number of reasons. One, people looked at it and said, that statue has the body of a woman and the face of a man. How could that be? This is what they said. Other people looked at it and said, that statue has the body of a woman. How could that be? Because angels can't be female, angels are male. Who knew? And the third critical comment came from the New York Times when this was finally unveiled in 1873. And they said the following of it. It was a, quote, feebly pretty idealist thing, toward which the revulsion of feeling was painful. Ouch, right? Ouch. Nonetheless, there it remains, the star of both Central Park and of many movies and TV shows and plays, from Godspell to Gotham to Gilded Age. Many people's favorite fountains. There we go. quick jump to Brooklyn and my favorite fountain there, which is the Bailey Fountain, right across from Prospect Park. I'm getting some nods in the back there, yes. And the Soldiers and Sailors Arch. This is from 1932. Top part especially is Art Deco in style. A man and a woman who are said to represent wisdom and felicity. And there's a little child between them as well. But it's the figures below that are of most interest. The central part there is represents a ship. Some say it's the ship of life, others say it's the ship of Brooklyn. Below that are the forces of either chance or the forces of nature. And it's the figures below that are my favorite, especially this one. It could be Neptune, god of the sea, but it is more likely Nereus, known as the old man of the sea, and known for two things, for being the father of the Nereids and for being a shapeshifter extraordinaire. So I look at this, and here he is with this ropey beard and all the muscles, and just look at his hand, you can see the vein in his hand, the details are amazing. His eyes are all crinkly, his mouth is agape in laughter, and water is just pouring over him. This guy is having the time of his life. The Tritons aren't doing too badly either. Frogs are having fun. And that was now the fourth fountain in that part of town. There was originally a single spray in 1867 that was temporary. And then in the 1870s, it was replaced by this fountain, which was known as the Plaza Fountain. It was a dome made of concrete and cast iron, and it had colored windows and gaslight shone through the windows to have a little bit of a light show. And that was succeeded by this one, which was known as the electric fountain because it used that newfangled electricity to create really fabulous designs like umbrellas and whirligigs, wheat sheets, rings, fans, and funnels. And it was operated, his poor operator stood in a bunker, a sunken bunker, underneath the fountain itself. And they did light shows for up to 30,000 people. So it was pretty amazing. The fountain, the current fountain, was shut down in 2022 for some work that needed to be done there, and it was returned to its great state in 2024, so just recently. And this is Bailey, who donated the fountain to the city, quote, to Brooklyn, in appreciation of the opportunities Brooklyn had afforded me during my residence here of 42 years. So that's this. Now, to the Bronx. We are going to stop for a moment at the New York Botanical Garden. This is another one of my favorites. The experience here is like getting off the train in the Bronx and feeling like you're among the grand fountains of Rome or the gardens of Versailles. This fountain I refer to as an aquatic opera for two reasons. One, the setting, which is absolutely spectacular. Behind it is the museum, rather the library building, used to be called the museum building. But the really fun part is the cast of characters. So we have here, it's called, the fountain is said to be a fantastical portrayal of the struggle for existence. We have a laughing nymph here with its hand thrown up and having a really good time. We have these fabulous seahorses with their hooves turning into webbing. There is also another little cherub there who's trying to hold back one of them while the cherub is holding a slippery fish. One of the characters is sitting on top of a dolphin, which is on top of a globe, and it goes on. And below them, we have both a mermaid and a merman, which is very unusual in terms of mermen, in terms of having a merman, although apparently that's very popular in the Bronx. They have more up there for some reason. These went away at some point decades ago, the mer people. They were restored in 2005 for the fountain's centennial anniversary. So they're also patinated to match the main fountain. Lots of drama going on here. The best, and also it's sometimes used as a display for art, but the best part is right now, for my opinion, there's a light show going on for the holidays. It shows on the library building and on the fountain, and it's pretty wonderful. So if you have the opportunity, I suggest that you take a look. Last but not least, one more stop in the Bronx. This is in Parkchester. This is the Fantasia Fountain. It's in the Metropolitan Oval, now called the Eileen Ryan Oval. And this is one part of it. You have your characters at the very tail end, the fish, which is very vertical and about to plunge into the sea. But my favorites are these guys. There are 5 of them. I love that they have fingers, very fat fingers that look like they're turning into fins. They have these wonderful fat legs that the toes are fat, that they're turning into tails. I love that the hair looks like it's been wet, and they're all blowing water. And one of them over here looks like he's lounging on a chair at the beach. Another one looks like he's about to leap into the water. And there used to be goldfish here. So this is, if you're looking for a serious fountain, this is definitely not it. There's the frog's having a good time as well. And it makes you giggle. And that is my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. We have time for a few questions for Stephanie. Any questions? Yes. Stand up, identify yourself.
Peter Cohen. My question is, if you have any comments about the Central Park Reservoir?
No. Because that wasn't really the kind of thing that I was looking for this, so I'm not sure about that one. So, yes.
Hi, I'm Mike Sifolo. I have a question. Wasn't that the main monument on Central
Yes.
Park South?
Yes.
Was that not a fountain at some point?
Oh, yeah, it's still a fountain.
So what
It's
happened
still
to it?
It's still there. It
It's
just
still-
wasn't one of the ones I selected for this. It's not
And what about the Columbus Monument?
still there.
All right.
There are a lot of fountains in Midtown. And there will be a fan tour come the spring. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Stephanie?
Oh,
More, Sarah?
Yeah.
Not so much a question as a reminder to everybody that Fabulous Fountains is nominated for a GANYC Apple Award, and
Whoa.
voting is still open.
Okay, so thank you so much,
Thank you,
Stephanie. We
everybody.
appreciate it. And as you heard, Stephanie will be selling her book, I guess, at the end of the meeting.
Well, we're gonna set it.
Right now, you're gonna set up in the back of the room now? Okay,
We're
great.
gonna have a setup.
Okay, so she'll be selling the books at the back of the meeting. Dave, we got one more thing before you come on up. Like I said, we have one addition to the agenda, and I'd like to call up Cherie Davis to tell us about her experience representing GANYC at the National Tour Association Convention. Cherie.
So I attended the National Tour Association meeting November 8th through 12th in Ottawa. It snowed, it was beautiful. I arrived finally on Monday. There was some travel issues, shall we say. And I set up the table. Now, we were guests, so we were off to the side and actually didn't appear on the printed map, but that gave me a great opportunity to walk the floor and get to network. So I spoke to various attendees, including Travel Alliance partners who collaborate with other partners, including DMOs, and suppliers. They also promote their members and give opportunities for growth and collaboration among their members. I spoke to Northeast Destinations and the I Love New York DMO. Yeah, that's a destination management organization, in case, the alphabet soup. And I did attend their daily wrap-up sessions and pitched the possible opportunity for tours that start in New York City and head elsewhere to have a step-on guide that goes with them to their final destination. So if anybody has ideas for that, especially during baseball season, working their way up to Cooperstown and things they could start, definitely contact me so that I can pitch that, because that's what I'm spending my January and February doing, talking to these people after I talked to the executive board and all that. I did connect with Tourism Cares. They do webinars on sustainability and meaningful travel, so that might be of interest to some people here. Prior to the conference, they sent out a survey to their members about what customers are looking for, so what they've been asked for. And they said the two words that were coming up almost all the time were luxury and history. So keep that in mind when you're doing your marketing for the new year. I did attend the tour operators breakfast. During the discussion on practices and standards for guides hired from outside the company, I mentioned GANYC was working on standard practices for guides. And some of the tour operators are interested in our document once it's finalized, and maybe we can sneak in a, hey, hire us too. I will be discussing some of the ideas floated at the seminar with the executive board and industry relations, and these will include things like social media, use of newsletters, and consistency in presentations across tourism conferences. Any questions?
Okay. First of all, Cherie, thank you so much for going. Yes, sorry, yes, thank you for going to Newark Airport to get to Canada. Multiple times from what I understand. We've sent members at various times. It's often been our good friend Harvey Davidson. It's nice to see Harvey here. But obviously, we are going to try to develop a more extensive strategy to really be specific about how we're going to spend our money and market. And in fact, and we'll have questions here in just a second. At the recently completed IATDG conference, I actually had a talk with Jim Carr, who's the president of the National Federation of Tour Guide Associations, more alphabet soup. One of the things that Cherie did not mention tonight, but she kind of hinted at it, we were guests there. We did not have to pay to have a table in the exhibit hall, but that also means that we can't officially set up meetings with tour operators or DMOs. That's going to cost money. So one of the conversations I had with Jim was about kind of spreading the cost across different tourist guide associations from across North America, and of course, we're happy to see GANYC take the lead on that. So hopefully in 26, we'll be able to have more representation at whatever meeting is decided should be the best one, and perhaps we'll actually pony up the money to actually set up appointments and things like that. So I just wanted to kind of add that to Cherie's report. Now, does anybody have any questions for Cherie? Yes, Mauricio.
Yes, Mauricio Montoya. If for whatever reason there's no budget for something important and presence in the international market or anything, is there any way you would consider coming to us and say, if we all contribute, we don't have it in the budget, but maybe we can put together a couple of dollars here and there, and we can have the right funds for someone to represent us?
Great question. So we did try this, and maybe we will try to restore it again. When we went to the Student and Youth Travel Association conference, which was here in New York back in the summer of '24, an idea that had been kicking around in my head for a while was for a fee, having members submit their one-pager marketing documents for their individual tour companies. But we ran into even a more dire issue than Cherie faced. She was at least in the main exhibit hall. We were in a side room with like 2 other exhibits, and nobody came to find us.
And another thing I discovered is that most places are not interested in taking paper with them anymore as well. So more people or more groups scanned the QR code than they did take a one pager.
Yep.
So that's also something to consider.
So that's one way that we could possibly look to raise funds. We do have money in the budget to go to these conferences, but it is quite expensive to register for a table at these conferences and set up appointments. So happy to have that discussion further if there's people, if you have specific ideas. I know you kind of have a background in the DMO world, Mauricio, right? So happy to have that discussion. This kind of usually flows through industry relations, but yeah, the chair is not here, but Harvey is the kind of co-chair or chair emeritus. So yeah, it's a conversation we should absolutely have, and we're going to sit down in January and try to figure out which conferences we actually want to go to and plan for it, because this kind of came up very last minute. Michael.
I just wanted to say that, having worked on this kind of issue with NFTGA, creating partnerships with those associations, NFTGA has complementary memberships back and forth with NTA, with ABA, with a number of them, and that when I represented NFTGA at NTA, we had a table right on the floor, very prominently featured, which, and it was, yeah, we were in a really good spot. I don't know why they didn't, but then again, we have a partnership with them, and we don't pay dues, but it's a complimentary membership, and they have a corresponding one with NFTJ. You might think of like doing that kind of thing, but you kind of have to offer them something for that, you know.
Harvey, you probably want to add something to that.
Harvey Davidson, we now have established a strategic relationship with the NTA. So that's something, Michael, that in the future that we may be able to take advantage of.
And for those of you who don't know, Michael Dillinger over here for 2 years, 4 years?
I was on board for 5 years.
Right, but was president of the NFTGA for, let's say, several years. 3 years. Anyway, Suzanne.
I am Suzanne Reisman, new to this whole industry, so could you, I don't really know what a DMO is and why we would want to meet with them.
A destination management organization. So like I Love New York are the people who do all of the marketing for tourism throughout New York State, and New York Tourism, what is theirs?
New York City Tourism and Conventions.
Whatever they changed it
NYCTC.
to. They're also a DMO, so yeah, like I Love Louisiana, who had the best booth there, and squeezable stress alligators. Yeah, there's some nice swag. That would be a destination management organization.
Sometimes those are called the destination marketing. They're kind of interchangeable. Yeah. John, and then we do need to move on.
Are DMOs often effectively state organizations in other countries, or am I thinking very wrongly about that?
You mean over outside the United States?
Yeah, organizations that manage the tourism of a destination. Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak to that specifically. I think Harvey might have an idea, but I think it varies country by country. Some get major funding, some are arms of their government, others are more like here where they kind of get some funding but operate separately. Harvey, do you have a perspective on that?
Yes, most of the time they're government-related organizations, but sometimes they operate independently of the government. But they're also private organizations that are DMOs. They do the same thing, but they're selling their own services.
Okay, well, Cherie, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time. Okay, so now we're going to move to our committee reports, and first up is the newsletter with Dave Gardner.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dave, and I'm the editor of our newsletter, Guidelines. And tonight, it's out. It's not here, of course, in hard copy, but I would like to dedicate this to our president, cutting the ribbon.
Who says this gig has no benefits, huh?
Phone, and I'll be confirming it.
Okay, are you ready?
We are ready.
1, 2, 3.
Picture.
Hey!
Now confirmed, so you can check it out. Now Emma's told me she's put it up. I can't get documents on my phone, but on my comp for sure. So either tonight or tomorrow morning, between her and ourselves and Mark, we'll have it up. But this is something that's for us, by us, about us, and also I had a great lot of participation from Linda Fisher, so she really came through. In the Seinfeld show, she's the Larry David, so she's the one who makes it happen. You may not know her, but she comes through and helps us with that. So check it out, and it's called Autumn 2025, and it's on the website, and you can all, figure out how to get on there, sign in and all that stuff. It's under Documents, and that'll be us, Guidelines 2025.
Any questions for Dave? All right, thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate it. Okay. Next up, we have rebranding, once again, Cherie Davis.
Hi, guys. So, it's been a long time. So the rebranding committee had a meeting on November 25th to discuss the difference between taglines and brand promise. We had a brainstorming session on words we feel need to be emphasized in our brand promise, our tagline, and our brand story. We finished the RFP. You got that, Kat? Yep, cool. And have a small list of artists that we plan on sending it to, with Kat S's help, also Kat, who's sick's help as well. Our hope is to have final candidates this month, hopefully. We are updating our to-do list. It seems like there's always something new to do. And looking at the promise, the brand promise we are making to our target groups. And our 7 identified groups that we're targeting with rebranding are current members, you guys, prospective members, people who should be here, tourism professionals, so tour operators and DMOs, governments in city and state, our industry partners, the FIT travelers, so families and individual travelers, and New Yorkers. We want them to know we're here, so we are going to target them. Thank you very much for your patience. If anybody knows of a graphic artist located in the 5 boroughs of New York City who has any branding experience, send me their information. We do want to keep local. We're local. We want them to be local. Keep your money at home. Okay? Any questions? Yes.
So what if you get someone with really good pricing abroad? I mean,
no.
Okay. All right.
Cherie, you keep saying reach out to you. How can people reach out to you?
Well, I have an email address. We can tour that at gmail.com.
What was that?
We can tour
No,
that.
I don't have a committee address.
Yeah. You can also use Catherine's vice president email as
No,
well.
I think the vice VP goes to that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Or, you can just send it to board and
Yeah.
someone will
Yeah, if you
funnel
send
it
it to
to
the
us
board,
as well.
we'll forward it to the right
Weekendtour.com,
people.
okay.
But I am at weekendtour.that at gmail.com.
Any other questions for Cherie? Okay, thank you, Cherie. Next up, Awards Committee, Sarah Lyons.
My friends, as a reminder, this year's Apple Awards will take place on Monday, March 9th, 2026 at Merkin Hall, same venue we've been using for the past few years. We love them. You're gonna love them. And voting is currently open. The whole point of this thing is to celebrate the people who make our lives so exciting in the tourism industry, and we only know who that is if you tell us. So please, go vote. Just so you know, you will have to vote in every category if you vote. That's just how we do it. But that means that you have all the more reason to explore every single nominee that we put forward. Voting will remain open until Christmas Day. The turn of midnight is when everything closes, and basically only I, get to know who you love the most until we get to the exciting bit in March. Last month we announced that cabaret artist Justin Dylan Nastro will be our host this year. We're very excited about it. And of course our fabulous Lisa Puccio is our guiding spirit honoree. This month, I am excited to announce that we will be honoring FDNY pioneer Brenda Berkman with our Lifetime Achievement Award, and many thanks to Mel Wasserman for helping us make that connection. Our full meeting schedule is online at the moment for those who want to join us, and you are welcome to join us. The only meetings that are not on the schedule on Wild Apricot are breakout meetings that we're doing this month in lieu of a full committee meeting to talk about things like fundraising, writing, food collection, and things like that. If any of that interests you specifically, reach out to me as soon as possible at awards@GANYC.org. Once again, that is awards@GANYC.org, so that you can be included in the scheduling emails that we're having in the committee to make sure that everybody can be present for those breakout meetings. As one final note, a couple of you have reached out to me specifically saying that you would love to read the articles that have been nominated this year, but some of them are behind paywalls. Now, our nominees have been sending me copy, or they're trying to figure out a way to send copy rather without, you know, overstepping any agreements they have with their publishers. In the meantime, for anyone who is interested in reading the articles but not interested in paying for the subscription services they're posted through, I suggest a website called Bye Bye Paywall. That is Bye Bye Birdie, except for instead of a man in gold lame pants, it is a paywall. ByeByePaywall.com works for me for everything. It's the only way I read The Atlantic. So in the meantime, I suggest this. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions for Sarah?
Good.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. So, next up, we'll have the certification committee with Michael Dillinger. And Jonathan Shore.
Yes, hi. I'm Michael Dillinger, Chair of the Certification Committee. I brought up Jonathan Turr, who's doing a lot of the heavy lifting with me this year when we launched our first certification class, and after over 2 years when we were working post-COVID to revamp the program and everything else. We had a great class, an amazing class, and I hope that you get to take some of the FAM tours that these graduates are offering, because they've done some wonderful, wonderful, unique, special tours, wonderful perspectives on New York City. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them, if you're in the house, to come up to get your certificate. Hold the applause until I've finished, because we're short on time, okay? But our graduates are Mark Anderson, come on down. Kyle Atkins, Joseph Nipper, Mark Mandel, Mauricio Montoya, Katrina Scaglione, Rosemary Schmavodian, and Dario Walcott. These are the graduates of this program. They did amazing work. They're going to get their certificates, and really give them a round of applause. These are wonderful. Next course will be coming up later, okay? We still have to do some evaluating on this particular session, but it was really great. You guys were just so awesome. It was such a privilege to work with all of you. I'm so excited for your future. So thank you. Thank you.
Hold up your certificates. We'll take a picture.
John, you get in too. Jonathan, you gotta get in too.
It's already late.
1, 2, 3. Great. Congratulations. Did anybody have any questions for Michael about the certification class / committee? Okay, great. Thank you, Michael and Jonathan, and all of our graduates. Congratulations. It's really quite an accomplishment, and hopefully these are tours that you're selling and running, not just giving as fan tours to all of us. So, okay, 2 more committee reports to go. Next up, the Education Committee with Nina Mende. Nina.
Well, thanks to all the, thanks for Lisa for organizing the guest speaker. She's been doing a great job. And Bob also arranged the pre-meeting FAM of the Aloft Hotel, so thanks. And we're having a busy month. Coming up is the first, it started, I hope some of you went on, I'm sure you did, December 1st. John Semlak did New York in Old Photographs, Matthew Brady and the Beginnings of Photography in the Big Apple, right over there. And coming up, a Christmas tradition, December 9th, Diker Lights FAM Tour with Jeremy Wilcox from the back there. December 10th, Movie Magic Mumbo Jumbo with Meriwether Williams. That sounds great. December 14th, December 12th, can't miss that. The Battle of Brooklyn Part 1, Prospect Park, and the Old Stone House with Ann McDermott. Coming up December 14th, Sinatra's New York with Andrew Newman. And December 6th, a FAM of New York, our Mass Transit City with Mark Mandel. This is a debut tour developed during this certification course. And I January 6th webinar PDP, How AI Can Greatly Assist Your Tour Guiding with Steve Klopper and Meriwether Williams. Again, and another webinar on January 14th, Andy McPhee, The Doctor's Riot of 1788, an offer presentation of unique New York stories. And we're not even through yet. We're February 14th, an encore fam with Grand Palaces of Retail, Part 1, Ladies Mile and the Fascinating History of New York City's Gilded Age Department Stores, 1846 to 1910, with Daria Walcott. That was her debut with certification. So it's a 19 certification. And I see Joseph Snipper is in the audience, and I know that he had something in February he's planning on. We don't have a date yet for his, right? Yeah, I think so.
We'll talk after. Yeah,
well,
sure.
but it's in the works. It's in the works. So a lot of people from certification. Now, in one more thing, if you missed our most recent webinar, Joy Goddess, this is in October, but you know, it's a phenomenal webinar, and I hope some of you get to see it. Layla Walker with the Harlem Renaissance with Offer Layla Bundles, the great-granddaughter of Madam C.J. Walker. So if you missed it, if you're a GANYC member, you can find it on GANYC's Library of Past FAMs, webinars, PDPs, and guest speakers. So all accessible. Our next Zoom meeting will be December 17th at 6 p.m. We have a whole set of Zoom meetings scheduled through the year. And we're looking forward to working on the 250th anniversary with a lot of programming. Also, we have a whole bunch of November events that we did. It'll take a little long reading them, so we have a thank you index. So if you're looking for someone who's expert, then go to our thank you index. Heading it up was November 4th's Urban Park Ranger Hart Island Tour, arranged by Jeremy Wilcox and James Henry, which was outstanding, very unique. I think it's the first time GANYC ever went on Hart Island, as far as I know. And it continues with Atlantic Yards, the 7 Train, and I remember part 3 with Joe, and then of course the Grand Palaces. Oh, I said them all, but got them all in. So thanks. We have a whole team on education, and you can approach any of us, and we'll be happy to help you with an idea. And we have a form on the website that you can just log into.
Okay, great, thank you, Nina. Any questions for the education committee? Okay, our final committee report of the night, Membership Committee with Jeremy Wilcox.
Hello everyone, in the interest of time I will keep this brief. So we interviewed about 7 applicant members, the head of the November board meeting, so we brought in a lot of new members in the last few months. So I just want to have, if you joined GANYC in the 2025 calendar year, stand up. These are among our many great members, so we want to thank you guys for obviously helping us grow. As Michael and Sarah mentioned earlier, renewals are ongoing. The last date to renew before you become lapsed will be the January meeting. And an email went out earlier today about the holiday party at Planet Hollywood, also mentioned earlier. It has all the information you need. Members only pay $40, but that includes some soft drinks, all the food that we passed around, alcoholic beverages at your additional cost. And you can bring guests with you for a $60 fee for guests. So that's basically the main thing. Again, please renew on time. Your dues keep this organization going. Anyone have any questions? Try to keep it very tight.
Questions for the membership committee?
All right. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for
Great. So we are now going to move to our next agenda item, which is going to be part 2 of our discussion of the document that was referred to earlier, our list of best practices for walking tours. We, if those of you who were at the October meeting at the the John Street Methodist Church, that's where we did part 1, and that is available on our YouTube page if you want to go back and review it. But it's a lengthy document. We only had time to get through half of it at that meeting. We're hoping to get through the second half right now, and I'm gonna start a little timer for myself here as well, so that we are, oops, okay, great. So the way it worked last 2 months ago, I think works well again today. I'm going to start reading down the document, and then every kind of end of each section, we'll open it up to questions, comments, helpful tips. Once we get through all of this, the secretaries and other members of the board will go through for the comments that were made. We'll look at it on the video, and we'll incorporate that into a final document, which we can then use Cherie's contacts to kind of connect with different tour operators who seem to be interested in that. Speaking of which, the two driving forces behind this effort were Secretary Lee Hallingby and Member at Large Cherie Davis, who edited it down quite extensively. So thank you both for your. Oh, that's neither here nor there, but thank you. Where we left off 2 months ago is, if anybody's following along on the document, which is linked on the agenda, was with public transportation. Let me just get to the right spot here. Sorry. I'm on page 3, thank you. There we go, okay. So like I said, I'll just read down through the document, not word for word, and then please, it was really, really fun and interesting to hear different people's perspectives on kind of using this as a launching off point, either to ask questions or share how you handle these situations. So, subway and public transit on tour. Avoid crowding into subway cars, especially when there are already other large groups on that same train. If necessary, wait for the next train. There is always a next train, okay? Before entering the system, inform guests of what stop the group will be exiting, how many stops away it is, and what to do if they get separated from the rest of the group. Everyone must pay the fare for public transit. I have seen several guides. I'm not naming any names, but I have seen guides scan themselves in, go in and open up the safety gate to let everybody else come in. Now, just because everybody else in the city is jumping the fare doesn't mean that we should, okay? We really need to be stewards and ambassadors of good behavior in the city, so please make sure everybody pays the fare. It's easier now than ever with chip cards and Omni and Google Pay and all that kind of stuff. And of course, follow all MTA rules. A couple other things that will open it up for the first set of comments. Street safety, always use crosswalks, obey traffic lights, do not jaywalk. The hardest thing for me to learn as a native New Yorker when I became a tour guide is not to jaywalk with 40 people behind me. Sometimes it takes 2 traffic lights to get a large group across the street, that's totally fine. Always point out hazards, uneven sidewalks, glass, water, waste, etc., etc., etc. Delivery and storytelling. Wait until all guests, except egregious stragglers, catch up with you before beginning your commentary. Stand with your back to what you are describing. Speak without turning around to look at it so your voice does not trail off. As necessary, stand behind the group when they are looking at what you are describing to allow an unfettered view. Speak clearly and project your voice so that everyone can hear you. Use an amplifier when appropriate, but be aware of where restrictions are that do not allow amplifiers, such as the Statue of Liberty or the 9/11 Memorial. Be mindful of quiet areas in residential neighborhoods when considering using an amplifier. If you use notes on your tour, do so sparingly, maintaining eye contact with the group as much as possible. Use visual aids effectively. Hold them steady at an eye level where guests can easily see them. That is a lesson that I am constantly working on for myself. Slowly pan from left to right or right to left so every guest can see the visual aid. If electronic aids like iPads, if using these, brighten or dim the settings for ease of viewing. Do not offer commentary for the entire group while walking unless you're using a whisper system or some other sort of broadcast system where everybody can listen to you while you're walking. However, if a member of the group wants to talk to you while you're walking, absolutely answer questions and have a chat. So I think that is a good place for us to open it up to the floor. This is an open forum. We want to hear everybody and anybody's suggestions, questions, advice, etc., etc. Let's start with Tony.
Yes,
Please identify yourself.
Yes, Tony DeSante. And I recommend that when you're crossing the street with a group, you get to the curb, turn around and watch everybody. And if the light changes, so if they're looking at your back, they're gonna wanna run and to catch up with you. But if you're standing there on the curb facing the other way and the light changes, you can go like this, it's okay, we'll wait for you, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of good. I mean, there are multiple ways to handle that situation. I do it a little bit differently. Doesn't mean it's the way that I do it, especially with student groups more so than adults or seniors. I tell my group, A, wait for the traffic light. If we get separated at the traffic light, and I might have mentioned this 2 weeks ago, we are gonna keep walking, wait for the traffic light. We will not turn left or right until the whole group is reunited when it's time for us to turn. I saw Michael's hand next.
Yeah, well, a couple of things with the subway. Number one, I always recommend that you go through the turnstile last to make sure everybody's gotten through with no problem. On exiting the subway, exit first so they know where they're going, because you're leading them out of the subway. And when you're trying to get a big group on the subway, aim for the middle of the platform. Look for the zebra bar so that the conductor can see that you're trying to get a group onto the train.
Okay, great. Since we're talking about subways, I cannot not call on Gary.
Hi, Tony DeSante. I'm sorry, no, I'm Gary. I always use a lettered line. Do not use a numbered line. Cars are smaller and there are fewer doors. Always, as Michael said, go to the front of the train. If you can, get to the front of the platform, you can position yourself with 4 doors. You have a big group, I've done it with 50 people. I have a procedure for kids who forget to get off. I've only had to use it once, but the kid did exactly what I said, all right? And I think she was doing it for attention, but you always say, get off the train, the next stop, go right to the wall and stay there, don't move, all right? And this one kid, who didn't tell anybody she had a peanut allergy either, did exactly what I told her to do. Got off the train, stood right there, and we came and got her. She looked terrified and embarrassed. And of course I played that up. You ruined this for everybody. But like you said, if you're toward the front, the perception of delay is lessened because they close the rear section of the train first, then they close the forward section. So while those doors are open for less amount of time, you get them in. But if you cannot get around using a numbered line, go to the front. Always go to the front. But remember, that car's a little smaller because of the full width cab. So there you go. All right.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop at third.
Yes, thank you. I saw Jeremy next.
Yeah, this might seem obvious to a lot of people, but particularly on weekends, check the MTA's website or app for service changes. This is something I learned very early on, is if you haven't taken that into account when you're taking the subway and you do not know it in advance, people are going to pick up that you didn't know it and they're going to question what else you don't know. So always check, even on weekdays, because sometimes change, always make sure you know what changes there are in service.
Is that Ian in the back? Sorry, in the back, yeah. Sorry.
Hi, my name's Christian. I'm hoping to become a member soon. This is my first meeting.
I'm sorry, only members can address the meeting.
Okay.
I'm really, really sorry. We're happy to talk to you at the end of the meeting. So John and then Mike Zuffalo next.
One thing I do with at least the student groups when I'm going to be crossing a lot of streets is I always tell them never run across the street. And of course the prompt to run is often because the light changes while they're on. I always stress they have a legal right to finish crossing the street if they've started crossing, whatever happens to that light while they're crossing. So never run. I always say, if you fall, then cars can't see you. That's the absolute worst thing. So never run. I say it's the one place I don't want them to run. I don't really mean that, but like on the street. Off the street, yeah, run. Heck.
And I'm sure most of you know this, but it's very, very important to remind your groups. New York City is the only city in the country where cars are not allowed to make turns on red lights. Okay? They will not know that unless you tell them that. So, but obviously you need to warn them about all the different vehicles on the streets, aka motorized bikes that pay no attention to the traffic laws. Okay, so just in case you haven't shared that with your groups, I found sharing that helps quite a bit. Mike Zuffalo next.
Yeah, hi, Mike Zuffalo. I've used a printed sheet on my tours so that my guests know where I'm going and where we're going, and so they have the highlights, and it's good for future visits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great idea. All right, we're gonna do Joe next, then Nina, then Eileen.
Yeah, I have a large group crossing streets. I find it was always best if I had like 30, 40 people I would have the group cross by themselves first. I would stay there if I was gonna have two other groups crossing to make a light, and then be the last one to cross myself, having the first group wait for me on the other side, knowing that everybody got across, not expecting them to start on their own, not to, be straggling. I'd be the pusher.
Okay, that makes sense, as long as they know where to meet you on the other side.
They just stay there, wait for me.
Yeah, okay. We have time for 2 more comments in this section, then we're gonna move on. Nina, then Eileen, and then we're gonna move on to our next.
Yeah, when you're dealing with big groups, moving around the city, it's always good to have someone take up the rear, a chaperone, or a tall, being my challenge, I always look for a tall person behind, so when you're going on this, there, and if you're going on a subway, the more chaperones you have assembled, and as Joe said, let people know, if you could let people know in advance where you're gonna be going, it's a less chance that someone's gonna get lost.
Great. Thank you, Nina. And last one for now, until we'll move on, Eileen.
Okay, 2 things, just to follow up on what Jeremy said. We probably know this just living and traveling in the city ourselves. The MTA does have some decent new apps, and one of them, for better or for worse, is delays, with, aside from the weekender. And just my individual traveling, never mind if you're with a small group of people or a tour group, can make a big difference, whether or not I'm gonna change my route to get somewhere if I can. The other thing, with the Omni card, as we all know, the old cards are going away, and you can basically not really find very many machines anyway for the old one. I think, when you have like a big student group, a lot of times depends on how the tour's been organized, whether they get their subway fare in advance or not, depends, I think, on your, at least in the case.
Eileen, I need you to move a little
with
faster,
a tour operator. But if you're with a small group, or you're just advising people, they ask you for your advice. I think with foreign tourists, it's a little bit harder than US tourists, because my understanding is that their bank cards will not work unless they've notified their bank before they left, or notify them that they're traveling. They may do that anyway, but I'm not sure. So with foreign tourists, it might be a little harder to let them know that.
That's great advice, thank you. Okay, so let's keep moving on. We have a few more items to get to on this list. So next up is handling interruptions. So if guests are chatting while you are delivering your commentary, use a respectful tone when they should be listening. Avoid scolding them. Try saying, "May I please have everyone's attention," or something to that effect. If guests are making phone calls or causing other persistent distractions, consider asking them to please step away from the group while on the phone. If you don't know the answer to a question, don't guess. Offer to look it up and follow up with them if your tour operator allows and you feel comfortable. Offer to contact the guest after the tour to provide an answer if you don't have a chance to research it during the course of the tour. If someone who is not on the tour is consistently interrupting your tour, be courteous, but keep your focus on your clients. If it's a persistent interruption, such as an emotionally disturbed person, consider moving your group to another spot to continue your commentary. Pacing and engagement. Pace your tour well. Avoid lingering so long at early stops that you run out of time for the later stops. Consider asking how the group is doing, check energy levels and comfort. If possible, include questions of, "What do you think?" or "Can you imagine this sort of thing today?" Be flexible with the amount of your commentary based on guest engagement. If you haven't already, you'll become an expert on kind of reading the body language of your guests. And if you ask questions of the guest and someone answers incorrectly, be considerate when responding, such as, "That's an interesting answer perspective, but it's not what I was thinking of." One more, and then we'll open it up again. Unexpected situations. Move the group away from noise, construction, scaffolding that may block views or other disruptions. Handle interruptions, aka, for example, people in need, gracefully. Let the group enjoy special New York City moments within reason, street performers, things like that. And if guest unexpectedly says they're leaving before the tour ends, thank them for attending and just proceed with the tour. So, happy to open it up to further questions, comments, tips. Yes, John?
I would be appreciative of any advice that anybody has on dealing with people who choose to smoke on a tour.
Anybody have any thoughts on guests who smoke on tour? Jeremy?
Yeah, I've had this happen a lot, and again, like you said, try not to embarrass them, but I will, as soon as the tour is moving to like the next stop, as soon as there's that break, I will just go to them and as discreetly as possible, being like, you cannot smoke on the tour, please put that out immediately. Like, you have to be firm, but in a way that you're not embarrassing them in front of the large group.
Obviously, if you're running your own tours, you should put that in the terms and conditions. If you're working for a tour operator, you should ask them if it's in their terms and conditions. And I believe, somebody I'm sure in this room can correct me if I'm wrong, smoking in New York City parks is illegal, is it not?
Yes.
Really? So that gives you an out right there. I don't know if it's technically illegal at the Statue of Liberty, but I've heard lots of people that think so. You know, and Emma, do you know if it's illegal at the memorial?
Lady would like it.
It is.
It is. You
Yeah.
cannot, everybody just, FYI, you cannot smoke at the 9/11 memorial. And so, I've seen people vaping there and smoking there, and it really ticks me off. I'm usually there in my uniform, so I look super pissed, and so I can't smoke here. Because, just no, I just think it's incredibly disrespectful.
Yes.
But it is illegal to smoke at the, it's not allowed to smoke now.
Thank you. Joseph?
Regarding the smoking.
Identify yourself.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Joseph Salvatore. Hi, everyone. So glad to see you all. Regarding the smoking question, what I have found I need to do for both smoking calls and chit chat sometimes on the side during the tour is in my intro, I make an announcement. If you need to smoke or take a call, please step away. If you need to translate quietly on the side, let me know that you're doing that, so, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes an announcement ahead of time can avoid even having to call someone out when they're misbehaving in the first place.
Yeah, and that's covered earlier in this document.
Is it? I'm so sorry.
No,
I
that's
apologize.
fine. But, you know, the part that we discussed in the October meeting, kind of setting expectations at the start of a tour. Anybody else? And then if you got the smoking question, anything else we just kind of went through this section? Michael?
Just want to mention that everything in this section is all about being flexible. Don't be so wedded to your tour that you make it miserable for your guests because you're standing next to, you know, like half a block away from a jackhammer or something, you know. Let them take the picture of the site and then move them away where you can talk to it about it. Find other ways to present your stuff. Really be flexible and be ready to just, you know, switch it up if you have to. I mean, there's times, unexpected situations, you're gonna have to, if you're on a bus and there's a street fair and the area's closed down, you're gonna have to do a lot of double time work on figuring out how to do it. So just be prepared for that. Have a plan B always.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. Gary?
I don't know, I'm still Gary. I don't know if this happened to anybody yet, but given the uptick in ICE raids in lower Manhattan, like along Canal Street, anybody have to deal with that yet? Anybody? Yeah, mine was with NYPD and they're going after the guys who were selling, you know, stuff on the corners, right? You know, there's all their stuff out there blocking everything. But it was like, all of a sudden, there's like a mass, like, it looked like a shooting, like people were running away from something and all running towards my group. So, yeah, and two of them were late. That's why I was standing there, because they got, you know, in some store along, you know, in Soho. So it's a thing that you gotta look out for. So if you keep an eye out for those, you know, you see police vans start showing up, then you gotta go, gotta move, gotta just move away. That's the new reality. Move the opposite, yeah. Well, you know, there's another school of thought, go toward them, because they're gonna be running toward you, so then you'll be on the other side of it, so, you know. I mean, that's serious.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Any other thoughts, my friends? I'll just offer, Ellen.
Ellen, I have a question because I encountered this and I was walking down Fifth Avenue in the rat. You know, the strikes and the rats, and not your rats. The big rats. And I actually stopped my group, the students, and had one of the people who were protesting give a little spiel on it. But I was wondering, what do other people do?
Absolutely.
I tell them it's the Disney headquarters.
What?
I tell them they're outside the Disney headquarters.
Thank you.
Bill.
Okay, I'm Bill Goodhart. Regarding the inflatable rat and things like that, I was walking by the Museum of Chinese in America in Mocha one day when there was a protester, a Chinese American protester from that place out there, and she was trying to give a lecture to my people about why Mocha is gentrifying the community and making it unaffordable for the Chinese who live there. And so, we politely said, I'm sorry, we have to go, and so we just kind of moved on. But that, I was wondering if that had happened to anybody else.
Anybody want to offer anything for Bill?
I usually just keep my group moving. Like if they have a flyer, I'll check this out later, I've gotta get these people to their dinner or their lunch or whatever it is, I try to keep it moving. I mean, if they wanna follow and shout, that's just part of the color of New York. And just let them know that anything like that can happen, but just try to, you've gotta keep the group moving, you can't let somebody else commandeer your group on the streets of New York.
You have something, Eric?
Well, I just say, I've had situations, I've had situations where, like, somebody's listening to me.
What's your name?
I'm sorry, I'm Tony DeSante. All right, so, I just love your name. All right, anyway, I've had, people on the street listening, you know, like, that was brought up in this section, people standing there listening. And I had a guy on the tour, this was like a group from somewhere not here, right? So, all right, and this chaperone started to get into it with this person, and it was someone who was, you know, on the edge of being dubious or dangerous, whatever you want to say, right? Clearly the guy was homeless, right? But he was listening and he wasn't really doing anything, and this chaperone made it worse. So sometimes you have to contain your chaperone, right? And it's happened to me more than once. Like, don't step in, don't do anything. I'm being paid, you know, money to be here. It's my job. You don't have to do that, right? So sometimes you have to just tell your people, just leave it alone. I'll deal with it. The guy's harmless. He's not coming to Hard Rock with us for lunch. So don't worry about it.
Nina.
Yeah, sometimes we're all talking about hecklers in a negative way, but sometimes you walk in a neighborhood and you hit gold. You hit a local who knows some history, and you know, you'd be wise to shut up and let them speak. Because I've been on tours where, you know, you have a set thing and you shut things out. The thing is to let the city in. So somebody you have to know who to let in, but sometimes it's pure gold and you should really go with it.
Anina and then Lee.
Anina?
John.
We don't want to pay $10, Gary.
Close your eyes.
Close your eyes. Top right. Top right. Top right. Top right.
Close your eyes.
Setting's still open.
I couldn't see it.
I didn't see it.
No, there were no names.
What did it say?
Just the title, just this flag.
Thank you to all of the deputy members of the IT committee for shouting out your suggestions. Speaking of which, one thing that I sometimes do, back to disruptions on tour, especially with student groups, is this sometimes freaks them out a little bit. Diffuse it with some humor. So, for example, if I'm with a band, right, and an emotionally disturbed person is bothering us, we move on to our next spot. Oftentimes I'll say, "That's my former band director." So anyway, humor goes a long way for diffusing these situations as well. Lee, you had your hand up. Oh no, Nina did. Right, sorry, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hi, I'm Anina. So for those of you that don't know, I mostly do wheelchair accessible tours. So my groups are very small, like a family. About this time last year, I had 2 women. One was in a wheelchair, and we were going to see the Friends building, and there was I don't want to say gentleman, a person exposing himself, and I thought, maybe they didn't see that. Maybe they didn't see that. You know, I'm sure they didn't see that, you know, and I'm taking pictures of them and having a good time, and then they made a comment that I was like, well, you know, New York people are, you know, forget to get dressed, and I tried to make a joke out of it. Well, we then went back down that street, and I kind of did a double take. I thought, okay, I can't see him. Well, then he appeared right in front of us, and I thought, okay, and I heard one of the women just like, and I thought, okay, I have to, and so I just yelled at him. I thought, you know, and then I was like, I sort of apologized. I'm like, no, it was great, but I just yelled. I was like, get out of here! Are you crazy? You know, and it was something, you know. And he just looked at me and then walked across the street. But it wasn't my finest moment. But the guests really liked it, and they felt like I protected them, you know. So it was just a weird thing. But as a female walking through the streets, I might have put a little more color into the words, but I just, you know, yeah. So.
Sometimes an appropriately placed four-letter word goes a long way.
Yeah.
Lee.
So, I was wondering how other people handle, people in need asking the group for money. That happens to me sometimes, and I find it difficult because it seems like the person really is in need, but, it also sometimes seems like unless you give them money, they're not gonna move on, and I've found the best thing probably is to, you know, even get out like a $20 bill and give it to them in hopes that will encourage them to move on, but you know, we don't wanna give up our gratuities helping people in need, but it's a tough balance, I find, so I just wonder how other people find being asked as a group for money.
Any answers for Lee? Tony?
That's very generous.
In my opinion, if you give them money, then the people in the group feel obligated that they have to give money as well.
Yes.
So I just do my best to ignore them, you know.
Please no solicitation.
Jeremy?
When I've had that happen several times, and what I do is I just move the group away. And if I notice the person's following, which most of the time will not be the case, I'm saying, I'm sorry, this is a tour, you just have to be firm. It's like, you just have to go away. And that might seem mean because it might be a person in need, but you're on the job. You have your obligation in that moment is not to this distressed individual, but to your group. So I would move the group, even if it's just half a block away, to signal to the person, no. I mean, that seems cruel, but it's the professional thing to do in that situation.
It also can be so thank you, Jeremy. This also can be something to what Joseph was speaking to before. If it happens to be an area where you do tours regularly and you know there happens to be a significant chance that you're going to run into someone in need who might be panhandling or begging, set the expectation early and say, as much as you'd like to help them, we really can't do that on this tour, so please just keep moving with me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You had your hand up. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Miriam.
Okay, stand up and
Hi.
introduce yourself.
Miriam. I was wondering how people handled teachers who accompany students who want to take over your tour. Professors. Yeah.
All right, let's Nina first.
So I don't do a lot of them, but I sometimes get, people will call me about doing a student tour, and I let the teacher talk because they are the ones that are gonna call me next year with another group or in 2 years. And so even if they're wrong, I might later on say, it's actually the Statue of Liberty, not of finance or something like that, like I'll just sort of, but I just let them talk because they're in charge. They're the chaperone, they're in charge. If they keep going, then, well, again, it's their dime, they're paying me, but I don't interrupt them. That's my thing.
Even if they're wrong.
If they're wrong, later on, I'll just say something.
Not in front of the
No,
students.
no.
Yeah.
That's like telling somebody's parent, you're an idiot. No, that's their parent.
Well, one of the tips we had in here before was if you need to address it publicly, you can say, that's interesting, I hadn't thought of it that way before, and then address it privately. Sarah?
So one thing that I do is I yes and them way too hard. You know how when you're walking down the street as a woman alone in the city and somebody comes up to you acting crazy, sometimes the best thing to do is to out crazy the crazy?
Yeah.
Sometimes the best thing to do is out nerd the nerd, and it's a case by case thing, but if somebody comes at me like, look at me, I don't look like somebody who is particularly cognizant on 9/11, but I give 9/11 tours, and a lot of people will look at me and be like, I could be your grandfather, why are you giving this tour? And they start spouting themselves off. If you can get deeper than them, and if you can get more thorough than them, but like they feel like you're thanking them for their knowledge, but you've definitely outstripped them, they tend to stop, which is a magical feeling. So in those cases, especially if you have that dynamic, nothing is more delicious than that.
We have time for 2 more comments and then we're gonna move on. Let's do Bill.
Okay, I'm still Bill. Now regarding the Statue of Liberty, somebody just mentioned that a while ago. And I remember going out there with a group and I had my license on, and I walked them into the area where they watched the film in 3 parts. But then the ranger came in and said, you cannot give tours. So I said, okay. So in the future, what I did is I took my license off and I just walked around with them.
That works if you don't do a lot of tours out there. All right, I saw 2 more hands up and then we do need to move on. Michael, then John, then we'll, 1 more section.
Yeah, I've had teachers that have wanted to like run the show. And unless it comes to safety, I let them.
Right.
I'm getting paid, I'm getting paid whether the kids listen to me on the bus or not. If the teacher doesn't want to discipline the kids, not my job.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like, you know, so if the teacher, as long as it doesn't compromise their safety, because that's my job. My number 1 job is to get them to from point A to point B alive and on time. That's the way I look at it. The rest of it is negotiable with the teacher.
You don't get paid by the word.
Yeah.
Let's keep that in mind. John, did you have something?
Well, it's kind of a follow-up to what you're saying, but I think it's always important to remember, like, every group is different, and sometimes that teacher is in charge of the group, and you obviously have to go with that, but sometimes they're not. And often, you'll find that the rest of the group is just as irritated as you are. I think the best solution in that situation is to get support from the person who is in charge of the group leader, or however they're identified, because they may be able to talk to the person saying, yeah, I've had that happen.
Okay. Lisa, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, one of the things that I have found very frustrating in the past, working with student groups, and these are groups that come in from town, from out of state, and you're working with them for 3 days, and you're sleeping at the hotel, and I know you do that, Michael, but God bless you. But what I found the most difficult on those tours is at times dealing with the chaperones and the teachers who had their own itinerary. So you are given an itinerary of first of all, there's no way you could make all those places in one day, okay? So the company I was working for, they tend to overbook things, okay? Which, aside from that, I would have 2 tours in particular. One teacher wanted to go here, another teacher wanted to go here, one chaperone wanted to do something special with her daughter only. I had a nun who I had to make sure was at mass every morning at a different church in the city. And then I had a gym teacher who had to be near a cigar bar so you could have a cigar. So it was very frustrating because the kids weren't getting what they paid for. And it was a little tricky. And then what happened was we ended up in Central Park. We got to Central Park. 2 of the women who worked in the office of the school were saying, this is boring, we want to go shopping on 5th Avenue. You know, a lot of these kids didn't have money to go shopping on 5th Avenue.
You take them to the mall.
So as we're walking through the park,
Lisa, we're getting a little bit off topic here because we've got walking tours, so
Okay,
we can kind of wrap it up. That's all right.
The carousel saved the day.
Carousel saved the day.
That brought it all together. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so we got 1 more section to go, and then obviously we'll open up to final comments and questions. So I probably should have included this in the last one. Content boundaries. And remember, my friends, this is recommendations, right? You can obviously choose to operate how you like. These are just our recommendations. Avoid personal opinions on politics, religion, and other controversial topics. It is okay to talk about yourself and your life to some degree, but remember that the tour is mainly about the city, not necessarily the Michael Morgenthau reality tour, that kind of thing, right? And then the final section is ending the tour. So, time management. Do not exceed scheduled end time by more than 15 minutes, but if you are running late, either up to 15 minutes or for whatever reason, traffic, this is more about walking tours, but whatever, protest, notify the guests that the tour is running late, and you understand if some people need to step away. At the end of the tour, end with a clear closing statement, thanking the group for the opportunity to show them blank. Mention other tours you give if you're working independently or if your company policy allows. Distribute your business card when appropriate. It is not okay to hand out your personal business card or working for another company that discourages it. So if you're working for a tour operator, you can't hijack their business and steal their clients, basically. If asked for a card by a guest, defer to the company or notify the tour operator. Say, hey, this guest asked for my card. Is it okay if I give it to them? Obviously, if it's a tour operator you work with frequently, you probably know what their policies on that are. And then, of course, do not poach clients from operators. This is unethical and unprofessional, and bad karma. It will bounce back to you. Soliciting reviews, it's absolutely fine to ask for reviews. That's kind of the lifeblood of our industry. And increasingly, it makes more sense to provide QR codes to review platforms, specifically if there's one you really want your guests to patronize. So if you're more of a Get Your Guide person or more of a Viator person or Google, you know, I wouldn't necessarily come with 5 different QR codes. That'll make people crazy, but pick one, maybe 2, if you go from there. Directions and assistance, share info on near subway stations, restrooms, nearby attractions, and eateries. And of course, if you have the time, stick around briefly for individual questions or help that any of your guests might need. And last but not least, the most important topic, gratuities. Respect the tour operator's policy on soliciting and accepting gratuities. Some tour operators are fine with you asking for tips. Some really, really discourage it. So you need to know, if you're working for somebody else, what their policy is. You can ask them, what is your policy on soliciting gratuities? If you're working on your own, it's your choice whether to mention tipping at the beginning or the end of the tour, or not at all. Again, convenient to have QR codes ready to go for things like Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, etc., etc., etc. And of course, always accept gratuities graciously. All right, so that is the entire document, but obviously we'll open it up to the last section here for questions and comments. Joseph.
Okay. Hi, Joseph Salvatore Nipper again. So this is a larger discussion and maybe for another meeting and maybe for the ethics committee. But our ethics policy says we're not allowed to ask for gratuities unless a company specifically says in their policy they allow it, that we're working for, and it doesn't say anything about if we're working independently. So this may conflict with our stated ethics policy. I'll be honest, I still ask for gratuities, and even though I'm a GANYC member, I say, well, I don't ask
You're
for
out.
Tips. I say tips are, you know, I don't ask directly, but I say tips are accepted, you know, I get around the language somehow. But that may be a conflict we may need to work on in future committees and meetings.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out. I was not aware of that. Gary, and then Jeremy.
Okay, hi, I'm Ben Reggio. Hey, I know you were here. All right, anyway, if I'm running over, as I'm sure you probably know at this point, I talk a lot, right?
No.
Okay, so I always blame the client. I always say, it's your fault because you are so cool. It's your fault. You made me go over because you have asked me great questions and you're so much fun to be with. I'm having a blast. So I hope you are too. So that's how I handle it. Because I have to do it all the time. So,
Jeremy, then Harvey.
Another probably obvious point to a lot of people, but I've seen some tour guides not do this. When you are handed a cash tip, put it in your pocket immediately. Do not make eye contact with that money. I won't name names, but I saw a tour guide once who, when people were handing them tips, were like inspecting, like you could see, like looking, is this a 5 or is it 10? And even if it's unconscious, that is a bad look. Take the money, put it in your pocket, and then count it later.
Yeah. I will offer one slight counter to that, Jeremy. I never count the money, but I hold it in my hand as a reminder to those who have money. Yeah. Harvey.
If I might quote the late Lee Gelber, may his soul rest in peace. He had a phrase that said, "Tipping is a service, profession, and gratuities are allowed."
I've heard tipping.
All right, we have our host wants to weigh in. Ishmael.
Yeah, I heard tipping is not a city in China.
Tipping is not a city in China.
Can't say that.
Suzanne.
So I personally don't ask for tips, although when someone gives me one, I do find other people are like, oh shit, and then they start digging around in their bag or what have you. But for me, reviews are critical, and I've started giving people rat snacks at the end of the tour. I give a tiny little box of candy and I tape my QR code onto that. So if you have a theme, you can give, it cost me 20 cents to give the snack out, and I definitively gotten more reviews as a result of that. People really like milk duds, it turns out.
Tony?
Just to be aware that I do a lot of, most of my guests are European, and remember that some Europeans are not accustomed to tipping. So don't feel bad that, you know, no one gives you anything. To them, it's foreign, not, you know, that this tipping thing, whether it's a restaurant, and they're always complaining about it. You know, I went to the restaurant, I had a, you know, $100 tab, and I had to give $20 or whatever, so. Don't feel bad if you don't get a tip, especially if it's not US based.
Tony, you take euros?
Jeremy, and then we need to wrap things up.
On the point Suzanne made, I've had a couple times where someone has seen other people giving tips and they just don't have the money. And what I've said is that, and they'll apologize to me, they'll say, I'm so sorry, I don't have any money to give you a tip, and I will hand them my card with the QR code. I said, actually, you know what I would like even better is a 5-star review. And that sometimes guilt trips them into doing it.
Okay, well, my friends, thank you all for your contributions. We will take some of these suggestions, obviously on all of them, and fold them into the new document, or into the document, and then when it's ready and has been updated, we will certainly let you all know. So, without further ado, it is time to unveil and introduce the next board for 2026-2027. John Semlak, Robert Jew, chairs of the election committee.
All right.
It's on the bottom.
Oh, I know that.
I think he's trying to cover up the left side slides.
Seen some situations that are sad.
There we go.
But yeah.
There we go. Someone with some
All right, the suspense is
Sorry
killing.
about that. I want to, first of all, do this really quick because I know we're over time. First of all, I want to thank a few people. First of all, it's been an honor to have this role to supervise the election of our executive board. I want to thank my co-chair, Robert Jew. I know I've been kind of the front face of this operation, but he's the guy who designed the ballot that you all voted on. So thank him as well. Emma, who was with us as the IT chair all the way. Jeremy Wilcox has sent us a great how-to video. He's got all the how-to videos, and I'm convinced Jeremy Wilcox understands wild apricot better than any known person in the universe. And the board was always there for us when we needed assistance. So thank you very much. And if I've left anybody out, sorry about that. We'll go right to it. We had 181 members vote this time. I believe that is a record. We were Robert actually reminded me we could go back and check the elections that are online. And so we did, Robert did, and we have, it's at least 50% more than any election we've seen.
Yay.
Now, we don't know about the paper ballots. We assume that it's more. Now, one factor in all this, of course, is that this, I believe, was the first election where it was open to the entire membership, and the provisional membership category had been scrapped. And I think this, while this is just an opinion, this might be a vindication that was perhaps a good policy, so well done there. But in any case, 181 members voted. We'll start again with, as I said, uncontested elections. So hopefully that's, and this one I'll just use as kind of a training for how this are going to look. I didn't put a heck of a lot of effort in making these really, really pleasing. Obviously, this is uncontested. Both members won, so Jose Rodales and Daria Walcott are new secretaries. And that vote tally is on the right, so this will become a little bit more critical in some of the later slides. Sarah Lyons is amounts of votes. Just bear in mind that most of you know, you were not required to fill in every category, so some people did not, fill in all the votes. It's a little bit different than the Apple Awards, I believe, on that regard. So, for example, I think a lot of people probably concentrated on the contested elections. There seems to be evidence of that. But actually, 2 people did not vote for one of the key contested elections. They perhaps had a difficult time making a choice. So, it varied. There's some surprise, some perhaps variances that obviously, why is one person getting more votes than others? Okay, so, and then your 2 vice presidents, Captain Hill. Thank you very much. Now we get to our first contested election. So again, please bear in mind that the names are in alphabetical order, so it is the names at the top may or may not be the winners. Okay, so here is our members at large. There were 6 candidates, and your winners are, and I gotta warn you, my favorite version of the Oscars was 2017. Moonlight.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
There we go. Cherie Davis, Gary Dennis, and Christina Hansen. Final one, last one for president. Okay. And we'll just be right here. As I said, nearly everybody voted in that one. There were a couple people who didn't, so it was obviously a very difficult choice for some. But here we have the winner. These results will be sent to the secretaries, of course. I do. One request I have is that we go into it and just verify that this was the most ever votes. I don't know. I mean, I think we can maybe in the minutes of the.
I think it's a safe assumption that we never had this many with paper ballots.
Maybe that might be true. Yeah, it'd be cool. If anybody, my big goal in this election was to not screw up the video presentation. The second was to ensure that all candidates had equal footing in terms of visibility, that everybody had a chance to speak at our meeting, and that everybody's statement was visible. I hope everybody felt that way. Obviously, individual candidates had every right to promote themselves. Some did a little more than others. That's candidates' choice. But I hope that everybody was able to, if they wish, to read every single statement of the candidates, certainly for the contested elections in particular. And that was my goal, and I hope that was achieved. And thanks very much.
Thank you, John.
So, first of all, one more hand for Robert and John for running a great election season. I'm not sure who amongst the candidates is here, but traditionally we invite all of the elected, those who got into office to come up to the front to say hello to everybody, and maybe somebody could take a picture. That'd be great. I know that, I don't believe Jose is here. Catherine's not here, but I think Christina's here. She was here before. Yeah, there she is. Okay, great. Can somebody take a picture?
I can't.
Welcome to the family.
Okay, you gotta get this question. Whoa, what up, lights?
Lights, camera.
Make me look young.
A little closer, everybody closer. Over here. 1, 2,
There you go.
3. Oh wait, oh, you're taking a picture. Okay. Well, they're all looking over there. Okay.
All right, guys, we got to
Let's go. Okay. 1, 2. Newborn.
That's
Right. And before you all take off, I also want a round of applause for everybody who stepped up to run for a position. We hope they stay involved in the organization. Anything else?
I wanted to get a picture of the old board, people leaving.
Want to get a picture of the old board? Okay.
Yeah, whoever's here, like,
Okay,
we put
we
in
can
a lot of
certainly do that.
work.
Board, current board
Mitch,
members, if you want to step up.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Second. I believe we're having drinks in the hotel bar upstairs at WXYZ.